Blockchain and trading card games go hand in hand when it comes to the perfect combination for the next step of video games. The essence of collecting different cards, paired with the latest technology in blockchain, gives players the ability to fully own and earn their unique cards or assets. This adds to the already established nature of TCGs, where finding and owning that rare card that you can use in matches is always at the top of every player's agenda. So let's take a look at one of the biggest games in this genre. Hello everyone, I'm Caveman, the content manager here at Polemos, and today we're going to be talking about Parallel. This game just won 3 different awards from the Game3.gg yearly event, where they were voted the best strategy, best card, and best esports Web3 game. And if you guys know me, I love competition, I love strategy, so I had to go and check this game out. It's a competitive deck-building TCG that blends play-and-earn mechanics, NFT collection, and a rich and expansive lore, all coupled with an extensive and deep gameplay mechanics. Developed by Parallel Studios, this TCG brings in the traditional trading card game aspects that we're all used to, alongside with some of the digital ones, such as Hearthstone or Legends of Runeterra, but also gives in the Web3 aspects that you can see in Gods Unchained or Aether games. Now, the story of Parallel is set in this dystopian future, wherein Earth has been devastated into an uninhabitable planet due to a universal disaster simply known as the Event. With this event forcing humanity to flee in different sectors out in space, these fragmented pieces of humanity independently advance through thousands of years, and later, at some point, they've come to discover that Earth has transformed into a planet of pure, harvestable energy, which they now all want to get a piece of it for themselves. The factions are now split up into 5 different groups or parallels, mainly the Earthens, these survivors of the event whose genetic mutations cause their skin pigmentation to change so that they could survive and gain the ability to manipulate nature. Then you have the Markolians. These are space colonists who just ventured to our neighbor Mars, but these guys are ruthless. They eliminate anyone who opposed in their ways, and they believe Earth is their birthright. Then you have the Augencores, these cyborgs who ventured deep into space looking for various resources and ultimately found their way into a small asteroid field that led them back to Earth. Then you have the Catheris, which are settlers on Jupiter's 4th largest moon, Europa. After years of genetically modifying and artificially replacing their primary sources of food due to a previous war, they ultimately turned into cloning. Catheris aim on returning to Earth, hoping to find the key to their salvation. Cool fact, Europa might actually have life underneath the ice crust. It might be a giant ocean underneath, something very interesting. I'm super looking forward to it. If you haven't looked into it, definitely something pretty cool. And then you have the Shrouds, and these are setting off into space aboard the New Dawn ship, and they've been exploring the depths of space, and they were devoured by an unknown black hole after coming back transformed into something that seems from out of this universe, and they now operate within the shadows for their arrival of their mysterious leader. It's important to be familiar with each of these parallel factions, considering that they play a major part in the gameplay. Your deck will revolve and focus on these 5 factions. They make up the game's extensive lore, which makes each parallel or deck offering unique playstyles against one another. There's pros and cons in ways that you can play these counter mechanics. So it's worth taking the time to get yourself familiar with it, to know which cards and decks work with how you want to play the game. Now, Parallel is a free-to-play game. You don't need to buy NFTs or spend any money if you don't want to, but for those players who are eyeing on the possibility of earning money while they're playing the game, they can also choose to do so. Parallel rewards players with Prime tokens, the utility token of the Echelon ecosystem, which can then be used to purchase and trade NFTs, and has the ability to give the player governance participation in the game, where you can actually make a difference in how this game is developed. Now, in order to gain Prime tokens from playing Parallel, you first need to know the composition of your deck, since there are cards called apparitions, which are non-NFT digital collectibles, which won't let you yield any tokens. Easily put, there are NFTs and non-NFT variants of these cards, and you need the NFT ones in order to be eligible to earn tokens in-game. To my knowledge, NFTs and apparition cards only differ with their utility functions. Skills, abilities, and functions are all the same, regardless if that that card is an apparition or an NFT. Now, apparition cards can be acquired through various modes, such as the rookie mode, or can be purchased through the in-game store using glints, another in-game currency which is used to buy items on the in-game store. Now, NFT cards, on the other hand, can be acquired through the OpenSea, which is a NFT marketplace, or you can purchase parallel starter packs on Base, and that is a chain that is working with Coinbase, or it's actually operated by Coinbase, and then you can transfer these cards to the game by connecting your wallet, your digital collection of these different NFTs and other tokens. Now, in addition to your deck, you must also include a Paragon. Paragons are leaders who offer continuous passive skills throughout the match, and though they can only be deployed once per match, their passive skills would still be in effect for the entirety of the match. Now, as for the gameplay, it is similar to a lot of different games I mentioned earlier, where Parallel's main goal is to just outlast your opponent by being the first to reduce their health points to 0. Now, players start with a hand of cards from your deck. You can choose to re-roll them, and I definitely recommend using this feature wisely, especially if you don't have any low-level units that you can summon in those first few rounds. Now, every card in Parallel has their own energy cost, and it's located right here at the top corner of every card. At the beginning of each match, you will start with 0 energy, but collectively accrue it by banking one of your cards from your hand. Each time you bank a card, you're going to receive 1 unit of energy, which you can then use to deploy other cards. Energy is then replenished to your current max count every round at the start of your turn, and any unused ones from the previous round, they will not be carried over, so act wisely when planning ahead when it comes to banking your cards. Banking cards is immensely important as it allows you to deploy and utilize more energy expensive cards later on. But anyways, now that that's out of the way, all that's left is for you to strategically summon and deploy unit cards, while also actively using other cards such as upgrades to ultimately overcome and defeat your opponent by decimating their health points to 0. There are tons of elements and plays that you can experiment within the gameplay of Parallel, such as unit controls, unit defense, intricate card synergies, and interactions, and all this adds to complexity, and that's what makes this game quite enjoyable. So that's just the basics of the energy system. It is probably one of the more complex systems that you need to learn to master if you want to be successful, summoning those very powerful units to take out the enemy and then eventually attack them as a person, bringing their health to 0, and then you'll win the game. Now, when I was playing this, I actually found it quite interesting. It felt a little bit unique, even though it is similar to the other games. It felt fresh. The lore, the graphics, everything around it felt nice, and I understand why Game 3 gave the award to them, but I might do some guides on this a little bit more in the future. I'm definitely not any good at it right now. I'm getting whooped, so it'll take me some time to master it, but if this is something you guys want to see more content on, please give us a like, subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time. Caveman, logging off.